I think we're in the very early stages of an important and a fundamental shift. And to describe the shift, let me talk about the courses that I used to teach in the operations management unit of a business school. I taught the basic required first-year operations management course for a couple of years. And if there was one mantra that we wanted to drill into the heads of our students, and one thing that we wanted them to leave the class at the end of the semester repeating to themselves over and over, it was something like, if you want to control the outcome, control the process. And to build on that, what we say to the students is, your job as the leader of the organization, or the organization designer, the smart person in charge of the outputs, your job is to be the process designer. And what that means is thinking about the right way for work to occur. What's the workflow? What are the roles and responsibilities? How are we actually going to get stuff done? And then to try to put that business process blueprint in place and make sure that it's followed pretty consistently, time after time. Work on improving it if you need to, but until then, work on just making sure you've got a good process in place, a well-designed one, and that your organization is following it pretty consistently. When we look at things like the Toyota production system and statistical process control and Six Sigma and total quality management, these were all process design exercises. And it's not that that's bad or that it's totally obsolete. That philosophy is absolutely still valid in a lot of cases. But what's really interesting is what we're learning about the good things that can happen if you adopt a really different philosophy as a manager or leader in an organization. And it's the philosophy of, if you want good things to happen, get out of the way and let people interact and collaborate and communicate in the ways that are most natural to them. Then your job as the leader of the organization is to simply put in place the environment that lets them do that, encourage them to do that, and then harvest the good stuff that emerges from all of their interactions. And what I've learned is that the technology toolkit available to help you do that, to help you get out of the way, build an environment for people to come together in a very natural, spontaneous way, and also the technologies to let you harvest the good stuff that emerges. That toolkit is absolutely fantastic now, and we are still learning exactly how to go about putting these environments in place and what is involved in the managerial art of getting out of the way and not leading from in front but leading from behind. We're at the early stages of doing this at scale in traditional organizations with a new set of technologies, and I think it's a really very exciting time to watch how this unfolds and watch the companies that get it right. For as long as I've been looking at organizations, whenever I go talk to an organization, I have heard something like, we believe that our people are the most powerful asset we have. We want to give them all the tools they need to be successful. We want to empower our employees to go out there and live the values of this organization. And we really believe in a culture of, what do you want to call it, autonomy or empowerment. I hear that over and over. What's really interesting to me is that we now have a set of technologies that really put that theory to the test. Because if the executives in an organization really do believe these things that they've been saying in their mission statements for a while, then Enterprise 2.0 is an absolute no-brainer from them. One of the interesting things that I've observed is that people seem to, in many cases, to be a lot more comfortable talking about those values and that kind of mission statement than actually following up on it by empowering their people with this technology toolkit and actually getting out of the way. And instead of trying to be the smart person at the top of the organization who designs the work, designs the business model, designs the workflow, and makes sure that it gets followed, instead becomes the person who tries to lead from behind, or to do what Nelson Mandela talked about, which is to find everyone's spark of genius inside the organization, which I just think is a fantastic quote, a great way to look at what a leader is supposed to do. Their job is to find out or help people learn from themselves what they're good at, what their best contributions can be, and then lead from behind and let the people come together and generate good things as a group. The toolkit and the philosophies of Enterprise 2.0 are all about doing that, and there are at least two big shifts that are required. One is the shift on the part of the leaders of the organization to not be the person who in advance comes up with all the good answers and then deploys them, but instead gets out of the way, tries to let the rest of the organization have its best ideas and harvest them as they come up. The other big mindset shift, though, is that the workforce of the organization needs to be comfortable working in this much more public, very transparent, collaborative fashion, not to do their work only following the established guidelines and only working in private, but instead to do what the blog pioneer Dave Weiner calls narrating their work, which is to talk about their work while it's going on, so that someone else can benefit from their work and maybe be helpful to them or get help themselves. This is a fairly big shift. The millennials in an organization these days tend to be more comfortable with it because they've grown up as part of the Facebook generation. So this idea of narrating work and doing a lot more of their day-to-day interactions publicly and using these transparent digital platforms, that's a fairly comfortable concept for them. For older knowledge workers, it's actually very alien. We tend to underestimate that sometimes. The thought is, well, why would I be contributing, authoring, talking, blogging, narrating, uploading, all these things in a public way? What benefit does that give anybody else? But let's be selfish. Why is that a good thing for my career? Why is that a good thing for my human capital in this organization? One of the things the leader needs to do is to find all the different ways possible to signal to the rest of the organization that we don't just say that we want you to do these things, we actually mean it, and this can be a good thing for your career. We are going to reward the superstar bloggers inside the organization for a while, or we're going to take care of the people who have demonstrated an ability to be good colleagues, to be helpful at the enterprise level, and to interact with their colleagues in a really helpful way. So it's not just the leaders, the formal leaders in an organization who need to change to embrace Enterprise 2.0. This is a fairly big shift for, I'd say, everyone over the age of 28 inside the organization these days.